Okay, hi everybody. So good afternoon. Now we are going to start the panel Circular and Resilient Food System, International Perspective for Climate Action, which is organized by AGRA, Nordic Council of Ministers, and ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability. So this session we will explore how circular and resilient systems can contribute to climate action across different contexts. The dialogue will showcase innovative initiatives in food loss and waste reduction, bioeconomy, and efforts to foster circularity in food system and sustainable urban development. Participants will discuss key opportunities, challenges, and lessons learned that can inspire future policies and strengthening international cooperation. By sharing local solutions, the discussion aims to highlight how circular practice can drive climate action and support more equitable regenerative economies worldwide. So for the opening remarks, I would like to call Nina Agard, Director of Communications of the Nordic Council of Ministers.
Thank you. Oh, dear guests, I'm very happy to open this session today that we are, as we heard, hosting together with the government of Finland, ICLEI and AGRA. So my name is Nina, and I'm a director of communications at Nordic Council of Ministers, which is the official intergovernmental collaboration for the Nordic countries, 8 countries. And I have a message from the North. We need to build momentum for food system transformation. The latest research tells us that the food systems are the largest contributor to the transgression of 5 out of 9 planetary boundaries. 5 out of 9. So food systems are major climate issue. But they are also a key solution to the climate emergency that we are facing now. Research shows that food systems need to go from being a carbon source to carbon sink in order for us to limit the global warming to 1.5 or 2.0 degrees. Ahead of COP30, the Nordic ministers responsible for food, fisheries, and agriculture launched a joint statement that underlines the urgency of action, as well the need for circular and sustainable bioeconomy solutions. And here at COP30, we must show leadership and deliver climate action. It is an ambition from the Nordics that we will place food and bioeconomy on the agenda, and it is time. Strong multilateral cooperation, it is at the heart of it all, which also was raised by the minister's statement. And in today's event, we have a diverse panel, experts ready to share experiences from Europe, South America, and Africa. And climate action, it depends on our ability to stand together and find common solution within the international community. And I look forward to following this session today, and I hope that it will both be inspiring and energizing and spark new ideas, new connections, and new momentum. We need to change our food systems for the health of ourselves, for the health for the planet. So, dear colleagues, we have work to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina, for your opening remarks. So now I would like to call our speakers to please come to the stage. So Ms. Anna Salminen, Chief Specialist of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry of Finland. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Anna. And Prof. Tilahun Ahmed, Director at Climate Adaptation, Sustainable Agriculture and Resilience. João Paulo Pérez, Executive Secretary of Food and Nutrition Security, Sustainability and Social Innovation of the City of Osasco, Brazil. And Sir José Ogawa, Mayor of Barcarena, Brazil. So thank you so much. So I would like to call Miss Anna to share some experience, some good practices direct from Finland. So please, Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be here today to discuss these topics as addressed by Nina just in the opening remarks. The Nordic countries, laying in the north, we are partly on boreal region in Finland, but also partly in Arctic. And that means that climate change effects are in many ways more visible, like quickly visible in our nature. And that also affects the production and means that the farmers, like the producing practices, need to adapt to the climate change effectively. But also it means that at the same time, there is a pressure to reduce the emissions. So in that way, I think this circularity, what was raised in this declaration Nina mentioned, is one of the key issues. Also in many ways, I think our location explains also that we are also for the moment quite a lot of addressing resilience and ways to be more efficient in the ways we use, for example, manage nutrients in the system, agriculture system. So we are following these European guidelines and how the subsidies are targeted to this kind of sustainable practices, but also that means that on a national level, we have to keep learning how we can produce food differently. And the other aspect I want to address is the consumption side, that it's evident that there is no way to reach these climate targets on a national level for the benefit of the whole society, but also for the benefit of the whole world, without having a change also on our plates. So I think I will bring up some examples of how Finland is working on these issues on national level. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, so very important what you brought us today. And I think in this moment at this COP, we are discussing a lot about how we can relate food system and climate change. So this is an agenda very important for us. So this is why this panel is important to keep discussing the subject. So I'm very glad that we have a panel here that is very diverse, so we can hear all experiences all over the world. So now I would like to call Professor Tilahun to bring some experience, some good practices from Agra. So please, Professor.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. In Africa, I'm an Ethiopian working in the African continent for Alliance for Greenwashing in Africa, and we work in 15 countries, but also work with Africa Union. You know, the challenge we face in the continent is probably even different than the Northern Hemisphere, because we have competing demands for food security. So, you know, poverty and food security is a big issue. And that has been aggravated by climate change. And when we talk about, you know, sustainable resilient systems, we have three agendas in Africa. One is how do we ensure that our farmers, our communities are producing enough food or accessing enough food. So how do we satisfy really the food security issue? The second thing is how do we minimize the risk, seasonal risk, market risk, climate risk. And the third thing is, how do we make the system sustainable and resilient so that's not going to be affected by, shocks, temporary shocks. And these are three things that needs different types of interventions, integrated interventions. So what we're really trying to do is making sure that whatever we do has a negative trade-off, are complementary to each other, and making sure that we enhance productivity, increase productivity, at the same time we reduce negative footprints, be it in terms of soil health, water loss, land degradation, food loss, all those things. So from practical experience, I can mention three things, what we have been doing. One is, about 30% of the food which is produced, it's getting lost. So food loss is a major issue in Africa, partly because of lack of access to energy, all the storage mechanisms in a warm climate, very easily pests and diseases are multiplying and affecting. The second thing we have is untimely rain, usually, which is affecting crop before harvest, at harvest, during transport, during storage, and then processing. So depending on the crop, in some crops we lose even up to 100% of the market value. For example, groundnuts. If groundnuts or peanuts, you call them here, are infected by a fungal disease, it multiplies in the store, and then overnight it became unmarketable because of aflatoxins, and we lose the whole market overnight. So how do you make sure that that food loss is managed? So what we do is, one, we really create capacity, knowledge in the farmers' fields. What are the agents? How that's infected? How is multiplied? What type of intervention and technology they should adapt? To work with market players, SMEs, to make sure that the produce is getting access to market on timely basis. The third thing we do is really encourage governments to make sure that they provide appropriate extension services. At the same time, share costs in terms of storage, for example. Allow some of the SMEs to bring in some solar, household energy type of things, duty-free or shared costs or minimized costs, but also use that as a business model to take it to scale, to multiply it using your own resources. But also, probably the last thing I want to talk about is, the waste. All the good food we produce in the villages, in the towns, ends up in cities, bigger cities. That's where the market is. Be it a fattening of an oxen, be it a vegetable product, be it a fruit, be it a maize, it ended up in cities. But that residue is abandoned as a waste and become a pollutant of cities. So an intention what we're doing is how do you organize young people to convert that waste into a product? For example, an organic fertilizer, pack it and bring it back to the villages, bring that back to the farmers. By doing so, we enhance, the efficiency of the system through nutrient recycling, at the same time reduce waste in cities, reduce health risks, but at the same time, reduce the cost of farmers to produce food. So there's a few things I can continue, but let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I think some challenges that you face in Africa are very similar to what we face here in South America, and food loss and waste is definitely one of the major problems that we have here. In Brazil, we actually raised our methane emissions last year. So it is a issue that we have to tackle more precisely. And so now I would like to call Secretary João to speak a little bit about Osasco, the city of Osasco. And just to actually contextualize about ICLEI work, we have a program that called LUPA, Urban Laboratory for Public Food Policies, that we work in Brazil with now more than 50 cities, and now we are going to reach 70 cities in Brazil that we work to uh, to um, we work to develop and improve the public food policies in the cities. And we have here Osasco and Barcarena that they are in this program with ICLEI and Comida do Amanhã. And actually, these both cities are mentor in this program. So we have each year a new round of cities that come to the program, and they have moments with these cities that are mentors. So it will be very interesting to hear a little bit more about Osasco and Barcarena. So please, João, share with us some great activities that you are doing in Osasco.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure, it's an honor to be here with all of you, all the governments and the ICLEI, the Barcarena cities. So I will start talking about the first guide, the first inventory of gas emission, greenhouse gas emission that ICLEI made it for Osasco city. And this guide, our climate and sustainability actions, has developed details greenhouse gases emissions, and we can see where the most problems are. And the main emission sectors in the cities today is the transportation. 42% of gases emissions from the transportation, and 37 mainly landfill disposal, about the waste, the organic waste, and all the food waste and other things. So this is a big problem. And to solve this, we have one of the public policies that we have is the food bank. We work with the food donated by the companies, the private companies, and we distribute it to families and experience of food insecurity. We have also urban school gardens. It's a program, and we are make a new model now. And these gardens promote healthier and more sustainable school environments and take care of the health of our childs, of our children's. We are starting a new program we call Urban Orchards, building on the success of the gardens. We are now advancing this program. These orchards focus on expanding the city's green areas, planting native trees in public spaces. This is my guide, my cell phone, sorry. We are improving microclimates, and we are offering free health food in urban areas for our community. We have also we have a strong framework for urban gardens, for urban orchards, for the food bank. You have laws that made it security to work with this kind of policies. Also, we are when we are combat food waste, we are reducing methane. And so when we reduce food waste, we avoid the unnecessary use of land, water, and energy to produce food that would be thrown away. We reduce organic waste in landfills. It's important to say. And we strengthen circular economy models, making better use of our resources. That's one of our main programs that I would like to say here. From my city, Osasco is a big city in the state of São Paulo. We have more than 700 people and inhabitants living in the city. We are close to São Paulo capital. and our city is now like city of work, and we desire that our cities we can call the future of the cities of the trees, of the natural, and the resources. Thank you.
Thank you, João, for sharing this. I know that Osasco has a lot of initiatives that are very interesting to hear about. Maybe we will have time, so if you want to share a little bit more about other initiatives, we will be glad to hear it. And now I would like to call Sir José Ogawa to share as well some initiatives from Barcarena. We will have his intervention in Portuguese, so I will be translating part by part. So please be patient with us. So please.
Boa tarde a todos. Saudar a cada um que faz parte desse dispositivo. Queria só para vocês se situarem, eu sou de uma cidade aqui, vizinha de Belém, aqui da Amazônia, de 140 mil habitantes.
So Barcarena is a city neighborhood in Belém with 140,000 inhabitants in the Amazon.
Uma cidade que ela é portuária, ela é industrial, com uma vocação muito grande para a logística. Chegam na cidade aproximadamente 1.500 carretas diariamente.
Okay, so it's a city that has I don't know, portuária, industrial and portuária, with a lot of logistics and a lot of
Fluxo muito grande.
so we have a big commercial arriving in the city each day.
E que também tem a área de ilhas, que tem famílias tradicionais, ribeirinhas, com uma realidade totalmente diferente e geográfica da outra parte do município.
Yeah, this is very important. So the city has a few different islands that are included in the city. So we have these families that we call ribeirinha that they live in some cities. So it's a reality way too different, I believe, from a really big part of the world.
Ao assumirmos a gestão municipal há 5 anos atrás,
When he assumed the mayor in the city 5 years ago,
sabendo da importância de cuidar de 25 mil crianças da área de educação,
they knew how important it was to take care of 25,000 students in the city.
nós percebemos que toda a alimentação que chegava nas escolas, elas vinham de fora, inclusive de São Paulo.
They realized that all the food that came to the schools came from out of the city, especially from São Paulo. And for those who don't know Brazil, São Paulo is very far away from here.
E então nós tomamos uma decisão de colocar alimentação regional do nosso próprio território para que pudesse chegar aquilo que era do cotidiano das crianças na própria mesa das escolas.
So they start to implement this program that wanted to bring local food for the schools instead of this food that came from far away.
E foi necessário a gente investir na produção local através da agricultura familiar.
So it was necessary to invest in familiar agriculture here in Barcarena.
Com essa produção aumentando e com o sucesso que foi essa alimentação chegando, eu acredito que seja do conhecimento da maioria aí sobre o açaí, é um alimento muito conhecido já no mundo, inclusive, foi um grande sucesso para a garotada quando chegou o açaí na mesa das crianças. E a produção aumentou a um nível que extrapolou a barreira da educação. Hoje, nós servimos essa alimentação produzida através da agricultura familiar para as famílias em vulnerabilidade social, que são atendidas pelos nossos programas sociais, como também toda a área hospitalar hoje recebe alimentos também dessa agricultura familiar.
So it was a big success, this initiative in the schools. And I don't know if you already tried açaí, which is a typical food here in the Amazon. aí.
Algo que muda também de forma significativa a forma que nós atendemos as nossas crianças é que na região das ilhas elas não tinham energia elétrica, então não tinha como armazenar alimentação saudável. E nós conseguimos colocar em todas as escolas das ilhas agora energia solar, possibilitando agora o armazenamento dessa alimentação. E hoje a mesma alimentação que é servida na área urbana do município, nós conseguimos colocar nessas áreas ribeirinhas, onde as pessoas vivem em mais vulnerabilidade alimentar, inclusive.
So in these islands that we have this Ribeirinhas family, there wasn't energy, so they couldn't refrigerate this food that they have in these islands. And then the city installed solar energy, and now they have, so they can refrigerate this food, and all the food that arrives and came to the city came also to these islands where there are these families that need this help from the public work.
A experiência ela é grande, eu poderia ficar falando aqui sobre horas, sobre as conquistas, mas através desse projeto que ele é de fomento à economia através da agricultura familiar, nós criamos 2 fundos de financiamento para produtores. Então, ele é social porque acaba chegando na mesa das pessoas que estão em vulnerabilidade social e começa a criar uma cultura nutricional diferente nas crianças que estavam muito habituadas com os processados.
So they created a fund for this family agriculture to buy this food from family agriculture.
Criamos 2 fundos de
Aham.
financiamento.
Ai, sorry. Tá. Quer falar mais uma coisa?
Criamos uma nova cultura.
Okay, yeah. So this a new culture became rise in the city that the children were very used to industrial food, and now they are learning again to eat more natural and sustainable food through this program that he's explaining.
E vamos continuar avançando, tentando fazer com que a conexão entre as culturas locais, o investimento público, possa fazer com que chegue à mesa das pessoas a maior garantia de produtos nutricionais. Por isso que a gente já vai atuar agora para uma transição agroecológica em parceria com o Instituto Comida do Amanhã e Regenera e com o Programa Mundial de Alimentos e Financiamento da Fundação Rockefeller.
So they are improving this program, and they will. Pode falar de novo, por favor. Não, mas pode falar de novo, por favor, essa parte do comida da manhã?
Sobre?
Do comida da manhã? Ixi,
A gente está passando por uma transição agroecológica agora, em parceria.
They are transition to agriculture. Agroecology. Agroecology.
Com a parceria com o Instituto Comida do Amanhã e Regenera.
With a partnership with Instituto Comida da Manhã and Instituto Regenera.
E com o Programa Mundial de Alimentos e Financiamentos da Fundação Rockefeller.
And with the food program and with financiation of the Rockefeller Foundation. So they will improve this program.
Agradeço a atenção de todos e deve ser missão de todos nós buscarmos estar conectados com as mudanças climáticas e garantindo que a gente possa trabalhar e implementar políticas que garantam sustentabilidade e melhor qualidade de vida para as pessoas.
So he is finalizing saying that it's important to connect these issues, the food system and the climate issue, and it's important that the public service improve these public policies to consider these food systems and with all the population. Thank you, Renato. I'm sorry if my translation wasn't perfect, but okay. So actually we have time. So I don't know if someone has some question for our speakers. You're free to do it. If not, I would like maybe do it, please.
No, let me use the opportunity.
Sure, please.
Yeah. You know, when we are talking about our governments in Africa, there are a few things we want them to
Can you
learn.
put closer.
Yeah. We want them to learn to adapt from Brazil. At least I promote two things. One, how do you strengthen the national agricultural system, like what you have in Embrapa, to be capacitated in Africa so that we develop our own technologies, practices, food systems, which are context specific and responding to our demands. I think that's what, revolutionized, Brazilian agriculture. And that's really where we keep saying, that's lacking in Africa. The second thing we appreciate is the public investment, particularly in issues that are not immediately attractive to the market players. For example, land degradation. Who is interested in reversing acid soils and buy those inputs for hundreds of thousands of hectares unless the public investment is really committed. So how do we adapt some of this? Now I think I'm told that is now the breadbasket of Brazil in your country. So how do we then adapt some of these good practices? And we even brought them here for some of them to see what's happening, but we're not yet there. So how do we also, as scientific communities, facilitate South-South relationship? And I think the Finns can help as a mediator, can play a role to ensure that good practices in both directions can be jointly learned and adopted, which are contributing to the circular systems. Thank you.
Yes. Do you want to compliment, please? Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I think we all address quite a lot of this need to find the solutions which solve many problems at the same time, and also the limit of finance to use to implement all of these practices and needs. And I think it's being a different society, maybe we face the same issues also, that and we have to solve this profitability of the farming practices, because in Finland, I think there is increasingly the need to take care of the next generation, still willing to continue farming. You can always study and become something else, or you can, since it's also relying in Nordic conditions, relying quite a lot in subsidies, so it might not be the most motivating way of earning your living to get the same amount of money per hectare, regardless what you do, basically, or how you do. But when I discuss with the farmers, the young farmers who implement, for example, these regenerative practices, their message is that it is both profitable, makes them to adapt, like make them more resilient. The way they learn about these issues is kind of network. It's not a state, like it's not a public network, but it's an organization relying on the science. So working together with our national scientific institutes, increasing the knowledge about how the practices infect the soil, how they bind the carbon. We are dealing with a lot with organic carbons in Finland, with peatlands, and most of our milk production, which is the important production in Finland, and also the exports this yeah, how to make it happen. Yeah, so and how to increase this multiple benefits. So, but I think circularity is the key, and also the use of these side streams, more efficient use of the side streams. I think in Finland, it's not only about agriculture, no, but it's the forestry is a big player in Finland, and there we also are at the limits of the natural resources, and that means that we cannot keep burning wood. Primary wood, we should be, yeah, producing something with more added value. And same applies also for the side streams of food systems, which we can maybe use for different products, and that all needs this science, as said, and exchange between farmers and scientists and public civil servants and all of it. So yeah, but I would like to hear also, like you addressed, Professor, this need to enable this access to market. So do you have solutions to, like, what are the key solutions to increase the access of the products to the markets, and what kind of like problems are behind that it's not happening?
Yeah, we keep saying, you know, food that is produced under regenerative agroecology-based systems is not yet rewarded, at least in our context. And it is much more costly for farmers, both in terms of labor, but also in terms of input. In most cases, there's even a transition time where they can lose yield until they build up their soil health. So the market players are not yet responding. The market signal is not yet there. So how we are trying to address is by bringing in high value crops into the system, add up a new high value fruit or vegetable which is marketable, which is partly compensating the loss, but at the same time show market signal so that other producers can also be linked to major markets, urban centers, through agro dealers. But the challenge is there. The challenge is there, and I'm not sure whether we have still a solution. Yeah, but value addition is probably going to contribute if we really make sure that some of these SMEs can process the food within the locality, as my brother said, and ensure that local food is added value and is marketable and create niches. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your contributions. Yeah, actually, I wanted to add. Yeah, I would like to add that we talk a lot about this during our projects, in ICLEI project, especially Lupa that I just mentioned, and we discussed that we do not have just one solution, right? So we have a shell with a lot of options of solutions that each city have to understand which solutions match better for each one, right? And you mentioned earlier, Professor, that some collaborations or change of experience in Brazil and Africa, and actually in ICLEI we work a lot with international cooperation. So we have, for example, a project that came in my mind that that called Afro Food Links. It is focused on Africa, but with Lupa, the other project that is the focus is in Brazil, we have some moments that we had exchange of experience during cities from Brazil and Africa, especially to understand which challenges are the same and which good practice and experience we can learn from each other. So this is one of our initiatives that we have in ICLEI, and is a strong line of work that we have with cooperation, especially with the Global South. So we can learn with each other. And well, I think we finalize, unless you want to add something, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting and important, and I keep learning a lot about how actually key player cities are also in, even though the production happens elsewhere, but the key cities are the key because the people live in the cities and yes, so I was thinking also this, as you were addressing the local produced food and school meals and all of that. So that's also how we try to increase this sustainability on the consumption side. That, for example, in Finland, since the 40s, the World War time, when there was still quite a lot of poverty in Finland, they introduced the school meals, free school meals to everybody, and that's still going on. So it's been over 70 years now, and that's also a way to introduce these sustainable ways of like healthy and sustainable food habits to new generations, and also the cities who are providing this kind of school meal services. They are responsible. They have to rely on these nutrition recommendations. We have Nordic cooperation to actually produce this kind of scientific-based recommendations, and all public food services are implementing that. So we increasingly also address, for example, locally produced food for many reasons, for also this reason to keep this circularity of the system in a local level, but also to support the livelihoods of the regions, and also it's a local food culture part of it. So if you go to north of Finland, you have reindeer meat and you have berries on your plate. If you go to south, you might have different fish. Yeah.
Great. Go ahead.
Excuse me. One of the biggest problem to our cities in Brazil is get resources to make some public policies. And the mayor of from Barcarena told us that you are making some constructions, some public policies with the Rockefeller Foundation. If you can say how you connect with the international resources to make some public policies in your cities, because this is important to us. Como você se conectou com a Rockefeller para conseguir recursos para...
Nós estamos começando a parceria.
Mas como é que funciona essa parceria?
Foi através do Instituto Unidos ao Amanhã.
Okay, so João wanted to know a little bit more about the partnership with the Rockefeller Foundation, and Renato mentioned that it was through the Comida do Amanhã. It's an institute that is right here actually in this pavilion and is a partner as well from ICLEI. Foi pelo Penai Agroecológico ou não? Nada a ver? So yeah, I think that this was a very rich panel that we could heard about the global north, the global south. So I'm very thankful for your contributions today. And yeah, thank you so much for, oh, okay. We have a question.
Thank you. Hi, hello panel. Thank you so much for the panel today. My name is Sam and I am a US liaison for Plant-Based Treaty. Thank you for a very great panel today. I have a question for Mayor Ogawa. I really enjoy hearing about the policy program you created for sustainable food at university and at hospitals. Can you tell us how you got the community to buy in to understand the use of acai bowl as healthy and sustainable? And also, do you promote healthy plant-based food in your city as the sustainable choice to get more people to buy in, to get more community buy-in? And one more question for the entire panel is, for the rest of the panel, how do you foresee your local cities making the similar policy like Barcarena did with the sustainable food policy? Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Here, first question is,
where get community to buy in to understand the use? Ela quer saber como que você fez para a comunidade, contribuir com essa questão das compras públicas dos alimentos, tipo açaí nas escolas e tal.
Tipo assim, então, o pessoal da agricultura familiar. O primeiro ponto que o município adotou foi buscar financiar a produção e garantir a comercialização.
Okay, so the municipality financial the production and the acquisition of this food from the family farmers, from the family farmers.
Criamos 2 fundos de
They-
financiamento.
They created 2 funds of financiation for this, for the purchase of the food.
Um dos programas garante a aquisição de tudo que é produzido.
One of the programs guarantee
A compra.
the purchase of all the production that they had, the farmers have.
Uma parte desses alimentos eles vão para alimentação escolar e a outra parte vão para famílias em vulnerabilidade social do município.
Yeah, and one part of this food goes to the schools, and the other goes to families that need this help. What was the second question? I'm sorry, I already forgot.
Educating more
For
community
plant-based.
about plant-based,
Okay.
healthy, sustainable, or healthy plant-based food as a sustainable choice.
Ok, ela perguntou se tem algum planejamento para trazer a temática, capacitar e tal sobre alimentação plant-based, sabe, vegetariana ou com pouca carne. Se tem alguma iniciativa? Eu acho que a gente é muito.
Ainda não.
Mas quer mais falar mais um comentário? Mas
Diga para ela que nós ainda estamos garantindo primeiro que essa alimentação chegue nas pessoas. Estamos nesse nível ainda, de chegar a alimentação às pessoas.
Sim.
Já estamos também tirando da cabeça das pessoas que a facilidade dos processados, né? É mais fácil o pai que tem condições de dar um recurso para o garoto comprar um pacote de biscoito e tomar um refrigerante do que buscar uma alimentação de qualidade.
Ok.
Então, está nessa fase.
So, first of all, maybe to contextualize, the reality in Brazil is quite different, especially here in Amazon. So, the focus of the municipality is first to guarantee that people have food, right? So, they want to bring this food for all this Ribeirinha family, and now they started, as he mentioned, to not use so much processed food. So they are starting to introduce natural, fresh food. And so they don't have a strategy for now for plant-based, because the focus first is to have food, to bring food for these people, right? This is the priority for now.
É importante dizer para ela que, para algumas crianças do município, o contato com vegetais foi através dessa nova implementação dessa alimentação.
He mentioned also that it's very important that with this initiative, the contact for these students with vegetables and fresh food was first because of these initiatives. So indirectly, they are introducing more vegetables, right? So, but not with this focus on plant-based. And do you want to answer the other question that he?
Very interesting question, how cities influence production in agriculture. At least one experience we have in Africa, mainly coming from Nigeria, is when the city put a regulation encouraging millers, the one who are milling, because normally in the continent we are really buying packed food. So you buy it from a miller. So they recommend, add 20% of this type of grain into it. Yeah? If it is wheat, add 20% of cassava, or 20% of a pea or a lentil. By doing that, then they enrich the nutrient content of the food, and making sure that every miller follows that rule and the regulation. So that has a huge implication on health and nutrition. The second issue is, quality control. When there are like vegetables coming into the market, fruits are coming to the market, they are not standardized. So they make sometimes random checkings and make sure that the food that is coming in is healthy and is not contaminating the food system. Yeah.
Yes, my answer is that the cities, they all have their climate goals. There are forerunner cities network, and then there are other cities, but every city has kind of, that's not obligatory to have this kind of climate plans. Basically, most of them already have, and food is part of that, and food served in schools is part of that. So that means that they are well aware of this. What does it mean? We know that meat on the plate does cause more emissions, and you also can have nutritious, healthy food without having all of that food and meat we actually are eating today. Diets in Finland used to be quite different 50 years ago, but now, of course, the access to meat is quite good in many ways. So we are eating much more meat nowadays than we used to eat, much more plant-based and fish. For the 50 years ago, when my father was young, they had fish instead of meat. But then I think one aspect is that, so basically all of these recipes, you can change the recipes, increase share of vegetables in the recipes. They cooperate with the pupils also, because in a country where many can choose if they eat at school or not, it's good that food is also tasty. That's kind of like competing also with this kind of fast food, which is easily accessible as well. So in that sense, that's also one aspect. It has to be delicious, and that means that all of these people who providing this food, they also need to have education to cook maybe a bit differently and learn to cook. But I think most of us have actually met these plant-based, new plant proteins at these school or other restaurants where we go and eat and have our daily lunch. So that's one way to introduce also new ingredients and new ways to eat. At least I realized that for my children as well. Thank you.
Thank you. João, do you want to? No, so okay. So I think we reached the time. Thank you for your question, and yeah, thank you for your presence here